No, Tariq, explosive playmaker, is starting to get back healthy. With the new kickoff rules and these kick returners, they're gonna touch the ball over 100 times a year, which is significant. And at least that's what we're anticipating. And a guy like him, he's still young, obviously coming off his injuries, but we're excited to have him aboard.
That's not an exaggeration. And I don't know whether it's just we're caught up in the nonstop chocolates down the conveyor belt. It's a dated reference, kids. Look it up. There's so much happening at any given moment. It's hard for one thing to sometimes get the attention it deserves. This kickoff change, we were having the conversation on the PFT Writers text thread last night. It might be the biggest single rule change the NFL has ever made. It might be. At a minimum, it's the biggest change since the two-point conversion was adopted in 1994. Possibly the biggest change since they moved the goalposts back 10 yards because guys were running into the back when there were two or when there was one, guys were running into them. Not good. Let's move it back 10 yards. The first and only safety-related rule change prior to 2009. There were others. But the most notable, probably not a good idea to have this giant steel pole 2 yards deep in the end zone.
It was amazing.
But, I mean, Chris, this changes everything. And I told Matt Casey yesterday, the coordinating producer of PFT Live and also the guy in charge of Football Night in America, we got to have a good plan for making sure that all the drive-by fans who unplugged after the Super Bowl ended and will plug back in week one, when they turn the TV on and they look at what the is going on the field, like people don't know. And this is going to change it all. They take a play that was systematically rendered dead and they have revived it with the ultimate defibrillator to every part of the body. Clear, 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 clear. This play is back. And nobody knows what the hell's going to happen with it.
No, it's awesome. It really is. I love it. I mean, I do. I love that we don't know what is going to happen, what it's going to look like. I mean, agreed with you that I think it's the most, the biggest rule change in the history of the sport. I do. I mean, it's right up there with the 2-point conversion, if not bigger.
Forward
just because,
pass, maybe the biggest rule change since the forward pass.
Okay, you're right. And not going back to then, but yes.
But post-merger.
Right, merger.
Make the argument, if you can, anyone out there, you know how to reach me, make the argument of a bigger rule change than what this is going to be. And we don't appreciate it yet because we haven't seen it in action.
No, I look at like, the defensive contact thing, right? That was a big deal, certainly, right?
The pass game rules were gradual.
But you're right, I know.
Letting blockers not do this anymore and extend their, like it was one after another that revolutionized the passing game, but it wasn't one fell swoop like this.
No, not one fell swoop. You're right. The 2-point conversion, I think, is the only thing that I think is comparable to the drastic change of the overall football game. And what I think is it's just going to be such a different look. I mean, that's the biggest thing, too. You're just going to be like, wait, where are these guys lined up? My whole life I've learned that they don't line up there. They're over here. It is going to be different. And, from the pure entertainment standpoint, right, I mean, I'm excited to see it. I want to see returns. I want to see the fastest guys, the most elusive guys in football with the ball in their hand with space, right? You ever play the game growing up, right? The NFL's not going to love this phrase, but I'm going to say it. Kill the man with the ball, right? Did you ever play kill the man with the ball growing up?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's what I feel like we're about to watch. not that they want to put that out there in the news and be like, hey, it's a kill the man with the ball or kick return. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's going to be really fast guys with like, whoa, I got some room to maneuver here. And then if I just get around the edge, well, I'm going to be on the other side of the yard and you won't be able to kill me. Right. So I am pumped to see it.
I got some other thoughts on that on the other side of what we're about to hear. But before I do that, some would say that adopting overtime 73-74, it used to just be tie game at the end of regulation.
That's a big one.
And that was it. That was a pretty big one, but it only applies to games that end in ties. This applies to every game. This is going to happen no matter what occurs, at least twice every game. More realistically, in a game that's 28-24, you're looking at another 6 or 7 kickoffs on top of that on top of the 2 that you have to start each half, this is something that is going to happen 10 times or more every single game. All right, here's Brian Schneider, the 49ers special teams coordinator, because we get the transcripts and I skim through them all looking for something that's worthy of posting at PFT or worthy of discussing here. Here's some of the things he had to say yesterday about this revolution that all special teams coordinators are currently dealing with.
So I think everyone that sees it for the first time, it's really strange because you see the kickoff and I'm standing right here and it's just like it's like you're in space. You never see that happen without everyone moving. And so it's really like the music went off. I was like in the twilight zone. And then when it happens, it's really fast. I think you have to start. It's all about the ball. And so that's where we always start. So you always try to anticipate what kickers are going to do. And it could be anywhere. So that's where we start preparing. So is it going to be like a shortstop? Is it, what type of fielding balls are you going to get? What type of guys are there? And then what type of runners are there? I mean, is it going to be better to have a bigger back where you can break through the arm tackles because everyone's going to be engaged? Is it going to be a quicker guy? But it all starts with the football. So that's where you build everything from and really trying to figure out where they're going to kick it, how they're going to kick it.
Sounds like you're still figuring it out.
Oh, everyone's still figuring it out. I feel good where we're at right now. And again, there's 31 coaches like me that don't know exactly if we're on the right track, what it's going to look like. So more than anything, it's going to be adjusting. And so right now I feel good, kind of finally with the players and getting their input and working through it all. But that's going to be, it's exciting. I mean, I'm fired up.
You mentioned the shortstop. Sean Payton recently used similar baseball analogy, third baseman, shortstop back there fielding the ball, because you're going to have up to 2 guys in that landing zone of the 20 to the goal line. When the ball hits, it's live. No one can move. It reminds me of electric football if we have B-roll of the old XFL, because all the guys are there, like the electric football players in all the various poses the electric football players are in. And then once the ball is caught, the kid turns the switch and off go the electric football players. There should be a guy running around in circles. And see how they kind of converge from the left to the right. There's a lot of risk there. You start to converge, the guy can hit the backside and he's gone. If you don't converge, if he gets through one lane, he's gone. Because we're talking about guys that are going to get that ball that can run a 4.3, 4.2, just like that guy, and he's loose. And there isn't going to be a guy that can track him down from behind.
No,
so
yeah.
This thing, Chris, it starts with the ball, and I really wonder, this is where I want to begin here. Are the kickers really going to be able to hit like a line drive that lands between the 20 and the goal line and doesn't skitter out of bounds? Because if it hits between the 20 and the goal line, because if it's short, the other team gets the ball at the 40. If it hits and goes out of bounds, the other team gets the ball at the 40. So it's going to be a weird skill set to be able to kick the ball from the 35, have it land between the 20 and the goal line, kind of on a line drive, and not, because we know what the ball does. The ball goes wherever the ball wants to go. How are you going to ensure the ball's not just going to squirt right out of bounds and the other team gets the ball at the 40? Yeah,
well, I think that's another nuance of, the unknown or what to expect. I think, at first, at least in the early part of preseason, you're just going to see traditional kicks. And they kick it high and they let their coverage team kind of get used to that and all of that. But yeah, I would think there's little nuanced kicks and things or certain moments of a game. Hey, we're down. We can't kick an onside kick. Can our kicker master, that a kick you're talking about there to kind of, maybe they fumbled the ball a little bit and now we get down there and by the time they grab it and converge, we tackle them at the 8-yard line. There's so many unknowns of where this could go, right? That's where I'm excited for this year because, the third phase of football is back in a game here. The creativity.
In a huge way.
And to the point of where, we're going to have teams that are going to lose playoff seeds or spots or they would have been the number 2 seed, but they lost 2 games because of special teams, or this team, wouldn't have made the playoffs, but they figured out the kick return thing quick and they won 2 or 3 games because of their ability to change field position or return a kick for a touchdown. I think that's where it's going to be great this year. It's going to kind of be the joker card this year for some teams that I think maybe sneak in the playoffs that probably aren't all around playoff football teams, but they mastered this area quicker than everybody else.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's why when we were debating this last night on the PFT Writers thread, I wonder how much teams are even going to show in the preseason as to what they're truly going to do. Because if you can surprise somebody week 1 and steal a game, and we know how narrow the margins are, if you can use that element of surprise and get a win that would have been a loss, that may be the difference when week 18 rolls around.
Yeah, right.
Or playoffs or no playoffs. So I agree with you. And think about the impact this can have on field position. Just setting aside the very real possibility of, and he's loose and it's a touchdown. Start the drive at the 35 or the 40 versus the 25 or the 20. Well, you're a couple first downs, field goal, touchdown. First down, I knew the right word would eventually pop into my impaired brain. First downs away from getting a field goal or being in the potential range to score a touchdown. And this is what the NFL wants. I think like the NFL had this epiphany, and we know that they were talking about it last year, the XFL kickoff. And there was initially resistance because there were coaches like, this is going to be a shit show because they're just going to be guys aren't going to be able to defend this. And that's one of the things that Brian Schneider said yesterday. The advantage is for the return team. That's the advantage because we have 11 guys going all the way across. And you saw in those XFL clips, what do you do to get your 11 guys, and it's 10 guys, the kicker's back behind. How do you get those guys in position to basically create the levels that you would otherwise have?
Right.
Like with the defense, you got the first level, second level, and you got the safety. You got one level here. And if you start getting too cute with the geometry, and that was something Schneider mentioned also, the geometry of the play, then you've got this backside. You get a fast guy, you get a Tyreek Hill, see you later. That may be another reason why Tyreek Hill wants more money. You going to use me on kick returns? No, you're not. I didn't sign this contract to be out there potentially getting injured on kick returns. You want to use me on kick returns? We got to redo this contract.
I mean, listen, first off, and we know Tyreek Hill type of players, those type of guys, if I was a head coach of teams, right, I would certainly be, experimenting with them back there. I don't care who they are. I do think the fact that the kicking team is so much closer takes away a little bit of the injury risk for the returner of like, oh, this guy came out of nowhere and hit me in the knee, right? You're going to kind of see it there. And then, definitely the advantage is on the offense, right? I mean, again, right, as it looks right now, you're explaining it right. A normal old-style kickoff, right, okay, we got 10 guys running down, right? 6 or 7 of them are going to the ball, and then the other 4 or 5 are kind of filling in behind and filling in gaps there. It's going to be hard to figure that out, let alone, hey, I think you might get teams that are returning kicks where they're like, hey, the ball was kicked over here, and we're going to have blockers this way, and we're going to have people pull around almost like a toss sweep. You're going to get like blocking schemes on this, I think, as we go too. So that's where I think there's great X's and O's and strategy that goes along with it, let alone it's going to showcase some of our greatest athletes in the sport.
It's going to complicate your life this season, too, because part of your film review is going to be looking at what teams are doing, how it's evolving. Right. Schneider said it's going to be all year. It's not going to settle in, and it's going to be copycat. Sean Payton is very notorious for looking at every touchdown play from the week that was. I think you're also going to want to have a reel of every kick return, and you want to study what worked, what didn't work. What are we going to use? How are we going to change? What are we going to, all the trends, all the things that are working and not working. And that's that to me, the more we talk about this is the biggest rule change in my lifetime. And we will appreciate how big it is once we get into the season and we see week to week how much time we spend talking about a play that was, all right, they kicked it out of the end zone and we'll be back after this with the first down and 10 from the 25-yard line. That's done. And one last thing I want to mention, actually 2 things real quick. I know we got to take a break, but number one, I think if there's a team out there that just can't figure it out, they're going to kick it out of bounds and say, take it at the 30. Not out of bounds, out of the end zone.
Yeah.
For kick out of the end zone, you start the drive at the 30. Just take it at the 30 for crying out loud. It's better than the 40. We're ended up on the 40 every freaking kick. We'll just kick it out of the end zone like we used to, and we'll give you 5 more yards. Because initially it was the 35. They changed it to the 30 at the league meetings. I wish they would have kept it at the 35.
Yeah.
Because I think there will be teams that say, we're done.
We're good with 30.
We're done.
Right.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Give them the 30,
right.
and we'll play defense. The other thing, too, this Justin Fields angle. He addressed this week that he's not returning kicks. And it came from Jalen Warren, who was on a podcast and said that Danny Smith, the special teams coordinator, had said it. And Shereen Williams had caught wind of this, and it might have come from Tomlin talking privately about possibilities. So I don't know that Justin Fields is 100% in the know about what the Steelers plan to do. And if he doesn't win that starting job and they're trying to find ways to use him, why wouldn't you put him out there with Cordero Patterson? Are you kidding me? You get the ball in his hands? Are you kidding me?
Well, listen, I want to see it.
Just because Fields downplayed it, I don't think it's a dead issue.
Well, I'm not going to say it's a dead issue either, but I will say, like, because there's a lot of talk about, Fields returning kicks, and then we can't have Fields be a backup quarterback. He's got to be on the field in some capacity in some plays and have packages, right? Which I'm sure they will have to a degree. But I think they also got to be a little careful, right? They got to protect themselves. He is their backup quarterback with a guy that we know has not been the best the last 2 years. So I don't think they want to ruin their chance of, we can make a deep playoff run with the way we are right now and go, oh, damn, we're just going to abuse our backup quarterback and use him as a toy. That's what they have to be careful about. And I'm sure that's what Justin Fields wants to be careful about, because he's still looking at it going, I'm looking to get a payday and be a big-time starting quarterback here. I'm not looking to run through, the kick return gauntlet here all the time. But I would love to see him back there. No doubt about that.
The better Wilson performs, the easier it is to justify using Fields.
That's right.
Especially packages and kick return. Replay review, somebody emailed. That's a pretty significant change, but that's something that's been more of an evolution. It's here, then it's gone, then it's back, then the standard changes, and they expand it to cover this and that. This is one fell swoop from nothing to everything, and nobody knows what the hell it's going to be. I can't remember anything like that with such a dramatic swinging of the pendulum. Or I can't remember 7 years ago, you had a very creative pronunciation for pendulum. It wasn't pendulum.
No,
I don't
sure.
know if it was
Pendulum.
Maybe it was pendulum.
I think it
Regardless,
was.
we're going to swing the pendulum very far. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.